morning. How beautiful is today? I am getting ready to head to Hanford Mills Museum. It's a sawmill museum, I think. We're gonna find out the history, and it just seems like the absolute perfect, one of the perfect adventures to do in the autumn. And I haven't been to this museum since I was a very little girl, so I'm very excited. I love hay wagons. We used to take hay wagon rides a lot as children as well. My grandfather would take us on hay wagon rides, and now my dad does it. Now, when I arrived at the mill, the tour had started just a few minutes prior, so I'll fill you in briefly that Hanford Mills has been operating since 1846, and it has harnessed the waters of the Corkrite Creek to support both itself and its community for nearly 200 years. I think if you enjoy learning about historical sites in general and about how the engineering and just mechanics of the times, and also learning more about other landmarks in New York State, because this particular one, it was definitely a big part of the production of this area of New York and of many, many lives. So if that's you, then sit back and enjoy, and I hope you learned something new.
A chemical reaction where the cream and stuff gets real cold. This will turn that cream as we do it, and it will make it into ice cream. And so in July we bring the ice out of the ice house that we carved during the winter, and we use it to make ice cream. Sometimes we'll attach it to the water wheel, sometimes we'll attach it to one of these steam engines. The water comes over the water wheel. We close that off. There's about a 4-foot pipe that goes underneath here and goes to this header tank. This holds about 1,000 gallons of water, and it's sitting right over top of that water wheel.
Lots of water.
Yeah.
Now, that belt that's attached to it also starts to spin. So when that belt spins, it turns this whole thing right here. So this whole axle here starts to turn. Anything that we have belted up will start to turn on upstairs. There's no belt on that one. You can see the belt is sitting aside from it, and that's because we don't want that to spin when we turn the wheel on. Those wooden cogs will turn that power by 90 degrees and send it back there, up those belts. The belt over there will take it all the way back to the back shop. So this whole place is connected together by these belts. You can imagine this is like a little piece of the 1800s, like surrounding you. Like it feels with these like handmade beams and all that, like this is what it would feel like back then.
Even the smell.
Yeah, you can imagine too what it would feel like to have all these things rattling and going. We are one of the only places that has all of our water wheel stuff still functioning in the same location that it was historically and still running. So if you guys want to see this thing turn on, I will teach you how we turn it on. So we're going to say wheel on really loud, and when we say it, the person upstairs is going to hear us if we're loud enough, and they will turn the crank and open up the water.
Wheel on! Good job.
Some time for everything to stop spinning, and that is why we yell back and forth whenever we're doing anything, because it takes a long time to shut this stuff down. So if your shirt or something got caught in one of these wheels, it would be tough to get everything to stop it. So this blower right here will essentially suck all the sawdust down, and guess where it goes? We can follow this all the way back.
To the pile.
Originally, these would have been all wooden chutes. Not only does OSHA like these metal ones, but we also do like the metal because the sawdust that comes out of here, it comes out so fast that it's actually able to sandblast our beams here. And you can even see some scarring on the wall from where that sawdust comes out so fast that it does damage. So we get all the sawdust piled up and we bag it up into these little burlap sacks. And it would have been something they sold historically. They would have used some of it for insulation. We don't do that quite as often because thanks to our knowledge about fire. But still, they would use it for like tractor seating. This is a nice cushy seat right here. Also, it would have been bedding for animals. If you have a goat or a chicken like we do here at the mill, we put this underneath those animals and it's nice and soft on their feet. They can use the bathroom and we can clean it up easily. And they would also use this to insulate the ice house. So in the winter, as you guys might have seen in the video, we cut the ice. And they've been doing this for a long time. And when you bring that ice out to the ice house and you stack it, you want to surround it with a sawdust and that'll insulate it. And just by doing that, that ice will actually last the entire year. So you have a house full of ice, it'll last the whole year long until you need more ice. They would have a lot of that. And they could bring ice to all the people that lived around them. And they could use that kind of like for their refrigerators and stuff. Back then you didn't have electricity for your fridges. You just take one of these big old ice cubes, put it in the top, and the cold will drip down and keep all that food cold. So this was important for keeping that cold. Now we're just going to walk across here real quick, but watch your step right here. The sawdust can kind of hide the edges. He controls all the power, how much power is going to the saw. The throttle is essentially the water. So the more or less water you give it,
I did. I think we'll probably do that again.
Yeah. What happens with all this wood after?
Box room stack. We still make boxes, crates. Also building repair. We might sell a little bit. We find uses for it.
This is where they start out. We put them on the log bunk when we get them in the spring. And this started out with this huge pile of logs, and we roll them off of here and they go in there and start the whole process.
Wow.
Where do you get the logs from?
Locally. So these probably came from, I think these were like half a mile away somewhere. Our mill manager knows the area, lives right over here, so when he hears about somebody clearing their land or something, you know, he finds out about it and send them delivered.
And they're just made of these little pieces that a cooper would make, these little curved pieces of wood, and place together like a puzzle. And they would make these nice wheels. These wheels let us bring the power from one to another across using belts. Sometimes you have solid ones like this, but if you have a solid one like that and you have to change it, you have to take down the entire axle and move everything that's past it. And it's a lot of hassle. These split wheel ones right here have a line that goes right down the middle. So you can just click it apart and click it on like a Lego piece. Historically, the Hanfords would have used leather, especially the buffalo leather, to be able to transfer power. Nowadays, we'll use a little bit more like canvas. We have to know how to fix things ourselves. So the easier these belts are for us to work with, the better off we are. It got passed between hands quite a lot. And after about 7 or 8 different owners, it landed in Josiah Hanford's lap. And that's why we get our Hanford Mills name, is because he was able to hold it for his whole life. His kids ran it for a long time. So for about 100 years, it was a Hanford museum, a Hanford Mill.
Who runs it now?
We do. So it is just a not-for-profit that maintains it and keeps it historically as a museum. The grist mill grinds grain up. So if you put corn or wheat or something into this machine, it would separate it out. Now what you're looking at is actually the basement of this machine. This is a 3-story machine. And so this goes up for 2 different floors above us. But you would set it into this separates it out, and then it would grind that corn up and it would make basically food for cows and horses. And that way the farmers here could bring their crops and then make it into food for their animals. And Delaware County was very famous for dairy. We had a lot of cows. There were more cows here in this county than we had people. Every single family would have their own cow. So you would wake up in the morning, you would go out and you would milk your cow, and that milk could be used for your cereal, for your pancakes, whatever you need it for. Now, the reason that you need your own cow is because you won't be able to get that milk from your neighbors. What happens if you leave milk out? It goes bad, right? It starts to stink. So you can't leave that milk out for very long. And they did not have electric refrigeration back then. So their milk would not stay, and it was very difficult to transport. If you're taking it over by a wagon, it's going to take you an hour and a half just to get over to Davenport Center, which now is like a 3-minute drive. But the trails were harder, the wagons tougher to move across with, and it would have taken them some time. The milk would definitely be bad even before they made it into the next town. You can make cheese out of some milk, or some dairy product at least, and you can also make butter. And butter was one of the big sellers here in Delaware County. This right here is a half firkin. A firkin is a size, kind of like a gallon. But this is a half firkin, and it would hold the butter. You would get something like wax paper, and you would line it, and it could hold a whole bunch of butter inside of it. Now, a cooper is a person who makes barrels like these. They make these curved pieces, and a cooper would take some time making these. But you also need a lid. So the lid would go on top of this, but when somebody was going to break into one of these, they would just break this top a lot of times. And after it's broken, it can't be used. So the cooper is having to make a whole bunch of these. This can be reused, but you throw this away. So they might have gotten sick of making those. Around the 1870s, an Oneonta cooper by the name of William Mickle invented the Mickle machine here, which is a barrel head turner. And the Hanfords purchased it in 1876, and they started using it to make these barrel heads. Now the question is, if the water wheel is on, how come this room isn't on? None of these machines, I can't do anything with it, it's off. And that is because I have to turn the entire room on. Nowadays, all you have to do is flip a light switch and the room turns on, but that's not how it works here. I have this big old lever here, and this is a clutch that makes the belt turn on into this room. I'm moving the belt over, and when I do, this entire room turns on. So now all the machines in this room work, and now I can use that spinning blade to do this. Pause the room for a minute so I can show you what I made here. I basically made something like a Lego piece. So I have what's called a tongue and a groove. When I do this, it ends up being a very tight fit. And so I can get these to smush together. I'll tap them a couple times. And now I've got a nice snug single piece. Now you could use a single piece of wood, but a wood piece that's this big is very expensive. and could be used for a lot of more useful things. So if you can combine smaller pieces, you're essentially saving money. Now I am going to stick this right in here. There's a knife right here that I can control with this arm. And what I want to do is I want to spin it and make sure that knife isn't going to fall off the edge. See how close that gets? So I'll pull this away and I'm going to lower this little safety thing here. This is nice. They didn't always have this. As you can tell by this wall, it has all these holes in it. It didn't always have this nice safety cover, and that'll become more apparent as I use it. Now, I'm going to turn this room on one more time. Now the room is on, but what I really need is for this thing to spin. This machine isn't on, but you can see if I spin this, it will spin that piece of wood. And this gives me a good opportunity to show you how those clutches work. I am going to move this belt over to this pulley. Right now it's on a loose one, but if I just pull this, look what happens. Now the whole machine turns on just like that. Once this is spinning, I can take that knife and I can stick the blade right onto that wood. I got a little diagonal blade right here, and that will help me cut a bevel on the side of that as it spins. And just like that, we're done. I am going to push that belt off so that this machine turns off. Push the room off so everything turns off. And just like that, I can reveal what we made. One more butter tub cover. One more barrel head for the pile. And we've got quite a pile going. In fact, this one is so cool with its little holes. Do you guys want it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's yours.
Thank you.
Now, when that train finally came along, it also brought with it refrigeration. So they didn't have refrigerators before, and their milk would go bad. But once the train came, they had refrigerated rail cars. So now they're able to take that dairy, and they're able to sell even just the milk of it. And so once that milk business started, this place started opening up creameries. There's 3 big creameries here in Delaware County. And they would have been able to keep milk in the little glass bottles and deliver them out. Something like this guy. When you're at the creamery itself and you get your milk bottles back, after you wash them, they're all wet. So why do you think that the bottom of this is empty? It lets the water just drip right out of there. That's right. What will be a lot harder is that if I had to lift it like this. So it may not seem like much to us now. We take a lot of things for granted. But these handle holes actually make a big difference. And once the Hanfords realized that they could sell these handle holes as an upgrade to their boxes, they would be adding these on and upcharging, and people would still buy them. So they bought this dedicated handle hole cutting machine. I'm going to take a nice pretty piece of board, like maybe this one. I can set it to different sizes here, but it'll slip right in. Slip right in, right? There we go. And this clamp will hold it snug in place. Wheel! So this is a nice little drill press. Now I'm going to turn on this room. This room is pretty cool. So you tell me what you think. There's a lot going on in here. The first thing I'm going to do, let's see, we'll go real quick so I can set the height. Alright, so if I move this pedal, it'll move that belt onto this machine. This starts spinning. And I can use it to make those little holes. And then I'm going to come over here to this machine that I said. I can control the shape that I am making with this arm right here, and then to insert the drill into this, I can use this pedal and all my weight. So once I push down, and then I can turn the wheel. You see these little rings right here? These are called mice. and they run back and forth on those axles, and they'll actually keep them free of dirt and oil. And once you sand this down, it is a very smooth and easy handle. Like it's already a pretty nice handle as it is. And here we make boxes. We have pieces just like what you guys saw. We'll take them and we'll brand them at the blacksmith. Would you guys like to help me out? All right. And you're going to try to finish putting that in all the way down.
The legs.
I'll hold your glasses. Good job.
Nice. Perfect. You're going to get that guy right there. Perfect. Keep going a little bit more. Hit it nice and hard. Perfect. Awesome. Great job.
We keep this locked up because we have raccoons and other critters who love to get into the corn. So we try to keep it out of their prying little paws. So that goes in there. And do you remember how to do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Then we can put that in there.
Back up.
And
There's
the process.
This whole thing where they're going up and down.
Well, the next step would be take that
It's three
and put it in there.
buses about that.
And grab it. And then it'll pop out over here.
Upstairs or downstairs. And there's actually, you can see these.
Oh,
did the cop?
You could probably take those off with your, I don't know if you'll get them. Second time through, I don't know. Oh, you got a few more.
So someone would hold this side, and someone would hold this side, handsaw, and they would go back and forth.
It is funny.
Yeah, like this.
So much history. So cool. Wow, this is the blacksmith, Cecilia. What's the blacksmith do?
He makes tools.
It would have been very, very hot, right?
Yeah, fire to make it.
Mm-hmm. Fire. All of his tools.
There's the stamp that,
Oh!
so they heat that plate up and press it on and burn the words in.
Wood.
There's gotta be other. There's another one here.
So nice.
Somewhere there's gotta be the little one that has their logo.
Yeah, the Hanford logo. Oh, it's so cute.